You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome. I haven't got into the topo thing yet. I'm sure I will. Is it Pellegrino's the other one?
Yeah, so that's where I started, was Pellegrino. And
okay.
First time I had it, my buddy's like, you got to try it.
You got to try
and
it.
I literally was like, dude, this is like chewing on foil. That's the flavor. I don't even know if you can like think of that, but I was like, this is what it, but somehow I came to like it. Like the acquired taste, like feeling, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah.
Anyways.
So it's Topo.
Topo Chico. No more. I used to like the lime, but now I just like the straight mineral water, man.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Life of an athlete, right? You can't have that hard-hitting Dr. Pepper, but you can find something in Topo Chico.
Whatever takes the edge off, you know.
Well, that's what it is, right? It's like taking that craving edge out of it.
That's right.
All right, well, we're rolling, so I'll get into my intro. Ladies and gentlemen, that voice that you hear is Mr. Blake Jarwin, who is originally from Tuttle, played at Oklahoma State, go Pokes, and had a good stint at the Cowboys, and is fighting to get back, which we're going to talk about today. Thanks for coming down, mate. I know you've been. It's been a bit of a mad kind of year for you, probably, and you had a. Beckham was born last year, so huge things are happening. He got married, a couple of years ago?
Going on 3 years into February.
So it's been a crazy few years. COVID's probably been pretty good to you.
Yeah.
It sounds like, other than an injury, right? But we'll dive into all that. Tell me about current state of life at the moment. Where are you at?
Yeah, we just moved back we live in Arcadia now, so north side of Edmond. We moved there about a year and a half ago now, so really loving it, being back close to family. Like we said, Beckham about 8 months old now, so having him close to grandparents has been awesome.
I know some of your neighbors, actually, and you're in a great neighborhood.
I'm
not going to name it, but you're in a great neighborhood.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we got amazing people. Mm-hmm. It's just like I'm still training, and so I haven't been able to really connect with everybody, but everybody's so nice. So it's been great to be back, and we're close to Stillwater, which is important to me and Peighton. So it's been a cool spot.
Still training. What's kind of training schedule and day-to-day look like at the moment?
Yeah, I did a procedure down in Colombia for some stem cells early January, and so right now it's kind of just take it easy, no weightlifting, it's all body weight movements, really light physical therapy stuff, just to kind of strengthen things. I don't want to load the body right now, no explosive movements, stuff like that. So but kind of mid-March, my plan is to go back down to Dallas and start training again.
Okay. So you still technically kind of on contract down there?
No, I just have a group of people out of Prosper that I really like to work with. I kind of use them during times of my time in Dallas with the Cowboys. So, the comfort level, it's just, and there's going to be some guys there that are going to be training for next year. So it's kind of good to jump in with a group like that.
Yeah, you need to be, there's only so much stuff you can do on your own, right? And so much you can push yourself on your own.
Right, yeah. It definitely helps, just that competitive spirit when you get with a bunch of guys who are all working towards the goal to get back. So I look forward to it. I'm kind of like antsy right now. I had the injections early January, and so I've been kind of just sitting around for a month and a half. I'm like, I need to get going, man. You just feel like you're kind of losing yourself, but no, it's good. I think it's necessary. Whether I get back on the field or not, I think it's something that I wanted to do. So.
We chatted before we started recording. Like you've got the bug, right? It's unfinished business. It's like a little bit more, maybe motivation more now than you had before, just to get back into the mix because you've had a taste of it. Tell me about going to Columbia then. What's that like? It
was kind of a spur of the moment deal. I was training into last year, kind of October to December, and I had a pretty big hip procedure. Kind of give people my past. I tore my ACL, then I had a back issue, and I had to get a discectomy back there, and then my hip was just totally gone, so I have what's called a hip resurface in there. Okay. And so it's metal on metal. I still got my femur, but I've got a metal ball and joint in there, so pretty wild. And it's like nobody's ever really come back in the NFL from that. So, but I had an amazing doctor up in New York, kind of helped me, and then I talk to those guys all the time, and then I've got a group out of Dallas and a group out of Oklahoma to kind of help me rehab this thing. It's good to have, I think, a lot of people around. Yeah. But anyways, so that kind of got me off the rails a little bit, but it's good to be back. I'm feeling better, but definitely wasn't there yet. So I made a decision late December to go down to Columbia and try stem cells, kind of a different way to approach things rather than just have the surgery. So, but I'm feeling good. Like I said earlier, I'm only kind of right at that 5-6 week mark. So, optimistically, you can see results up to 9 months. And so that was kind of my goal.
Yeah. Who put that on the radar for you, like the stem cell stuff? Like who suggested it?
I had a couple people down in Dallas I've talked to. Another guy, Luke Miller. He's a good friend of mine, also a PT. And he was just kind of like, he's always kind of thrown the idea out to me. And finally I was like, man, I think so. I think I'm going to go try it. And so I got there New Year's Day. And for 4 straight days, I'm seeing doctors and getting injections and all this kind of crazy stuff for 4 straight days, and I get in a plane, I leave. Yeah. So I didn't get to see a lot of Medellin, but I mean, man, great food, awesome people. It was called Bio Accelerator. It was an amazing first-class facility down there. It was really neat. So really cool experience.
Yeah, just stuff like that, right? Just like you tick the box and you're like, wow, I get to do this. This is really cool, and obviously there's a benefit to it. And hopefully, by the end of the year, you see a real benefit to it. Mm-hmm. So tell me about the football thing then. You grew up in Tuttle always?
Yeah, I moved to Tuttle in 2nd grade, so I kind of grew up, most of my life. That's actually where I started playing Little League football. I was 8 years old, and my neighbor came over. He's like, dude, you should try to play. I'm like, I don't even know what the sport is right now. I'm 8 years old. Yeah. And played, loved it, never looked back. And so kind of grew up into it and played high school, walked on at Oklahoma State, and then was a free agent for Dallas. And so kind of always loved the grind of it. And it's been a fun journey. Obviously, I miss it. I'm crazy enough to go back with all these injuries that I've had. Just that competitiveness of it. It's an amazing thing. Yeah,
sport does that to us, right? Regardless of what your sport is, it doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be sport, but just if you're an entrepreneur or whatever, you got that competitive juice in you. You always want to better yourself and see what's next. Right. And when you're in high school and you're going through that, and you get your first kind of big wins, and you come off the field with a buzz, right? Like you want to chase that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Through high school, then, was it always like Oklahoma State? You mentioned you walked on. Obviously, it seems like there's a big Tuttle connection to Oklahoma State. Although Jason White went to you, who's probably most people know who Jason White is, but. Yeah, why Oklahoma State?
So it's definitely like a split town almost. You have like hardcore OU fans, hardcore Oklahoma State fans in Tuttle, which is awesome. Just the environment. Everybody knows everybody. Small town. I grew up a huge OU fan because of Jason White. Being a Tuttle guy, going to OU, winning the Heisman Trophy. It's just something you look up for. He lives about 1.5 miles from my parents' house, still to this day. So it's really cool. I've met him a handful of times and got to talk to him. But grew up a huge fan. And then when it came time to kind of choose what the next step was going to be. I had a few Division II offers in state and out of state, and had the opportunity. I was talking to UTSA, Texas San Antonio, and they're like, yeah, we want to have you down here. And I was really excited. And I remember I was getting on a plane back to Oklahoma from a school up in North Dakota. And they called me on my way back and like, hey, we just filled the scholarship spot. Sorry, no need to come see us. And it like broke my heart, you know. But it kind of also gave me that extra motivation. And I went in, I talked to my head coach, I talked to my parents, and I was like, look, I know I have all these offers, and some are going to pay for full tuition with, you know, my athletic scholarship and my academic scholarship at the D2 level. So I was like, that's amazing. But I was like, look, I want to go try. I said, I want to play in front of all these people, and I think I can do it. And I actually went home and I emailed Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And OU never reached back out, but OSU said, hey, look, we can't promise you anything, but you can come up here and check it out and then try to walk on. And so I literally did I wasn't a preferred walk on. I went up and I did 225 bench press, how many, like rep max, the 40-yard dash, the vertical, and like that's how I luckily got picked up. I don't know what they saw back then, but you know, just needed that chance and kind of went from there.
I mean, what's kind of in your mindset when you're driving up to Stillwater and you're like, I've basically got 3 workouts to make a huge difference and make it. I
mean, I'm enrolled. They don't do the walk-on tryouts until the second week of school. So you go through welcome week, and I'm not even on the team yet. And these guys have gone to fall camp, and they're still working, and they had a game that weekend versus Savannah State, you know, so it's pretty crazy. And then you get there, and like, you know, I'm like blown away. All these top-tier athletes are there, and I'm just trying this workout out. So like I said, I don't know, you know, what they saw, but or if they just need an extra guy on scout team. But I just wanted that chance, and I remember getting the phone call, like, "Hey, we want you to be on our team." And it was like one of the craziest. You get to call your parents and say, "Look, I made it." You know, I bet on myself and I made it, and so. It was amazing, and tough times though. You know, being a walk-on, a little bit different back then than now. Okay. Not like it's easy these days, but even back then we couldn't. They had you know, what they call training table, and walk-ons just there's no budget for it, and it wasn't allowed per NCAA rules, so we couldn't go up there and eat. You know, we had after practice, all the scholarship guys are going upstairs to go eat their free food, and hang out, and me and a handful of other guys got to go back to the dorms and eat whatever we get our hands on. So. My parents were amazing. My grandma, just financially supporting me through that. You know, they helped me kind of get everything lined up. So just to give me that opportunity, man, I'll always be thankful for that.
I mean, that's wild, right? That you're just like second week of school, like it seems like, is it still the same now with walk-ons, or do they do it?
Yeah, they still do it. I think, I'm not sure what the timetable is. They have a spring tryout too. But the fall, I think, is the second week of school. Kind of get the guys enrolled and then
see what you
go from there. Yeah, it's pretty wild. But and then, you know, even then I'm like in the normal dorms, and then there's the athletic dorms over here, and so you're kind of disconnected. You gotta really want it, and it's but man, I wouldn't change anything about it. Yeah, you know, I love it. I love talking to walk-ons who are going through issues or thinking about walking on. Like, it's kind of, you know, my forte. So even you know, being a free agent, it was still different, but I mean, I've always loved that grind that kind of comes with being at the bottom of the totem pole and kind of making your way up to
that kind of chip on your shoulder that gives you the edge, and like that extra, like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What I mean, you're separated, right? You're not in the athlete dorm. You're doing all these things, and you're away from like the guys, because it's such a team thing, right? Like, you know,
camaradere's
huge, right? The locker room scene. And how many walk-ons were there when you walked on? Just a few of you.
You know, I'm trying to think of how many scholarships. They have like 85 scholarships or 90 scholarships now. I'm not for sure. It's a high number. So there's about 40 walk-ons. Oh, okay. But with my group, you know, there's probably 20 to 25 preferred, and then just guys like me who made it through the tryout to kind of fill up the rest of the roster. And so there's a big group, but by the time I graduated, I think there's only 3 or 4 left. So you kind of see everybody kind of go through the progression of it, and you know, it's like I said, it's not always easy. It can be tough on you.
What do you mentioned talking to walk-ons now? Like, what do you like to talk to them about? What's the advice that you give them and tell them?
Yeah, the first question is like, do you love it? Do you love football? Are you ready to have, tough times where maybe you're not the first guy up on the list to have that opportunity, but you got to make sure that you're always ready for that opportunity too when it comes. And so that's kind of my biggest thing is always be prepared for when that opportunity is presented. You may only get one shot. I'm not saying be nervous, but make sure that you put in the work to be prepared for when that opportunity presents itself. And so, and that's kind of, we go from there. And I'm happy to always talk to guys like that. I stay close with my tight ends coach at Oklahoma State, Jason McIndoe, great guy. But anytime he's got a guy that's kind of like on the fence, I'm like, hey, I'll talk to him and I'll be real with him. I don't want to trouble a guy who's got other offers.
Right.
Just to say, hey, no, go play there. You gotta really want it, and you gotta understand the consequences and circumstances that you go with when you choose a place like that. So, or a walk-on spot instead of taking scholarship. So, as a young kid, you don't always think of like the financial side of that. And luckily, I had good people in my life, and then I was able to, go to the next step and pay all that stuff off. But it can be something that you don't always think about.
Right. Obviously, like, we watch stuff on YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, and it's all, that quote of like burning the boats, right, and not having a plan B. It's probably different for you, although you really wanted that opportunity, and you just mentioned always being prepared. Like, there is effectively a plan B there because you have a management degree from Oklahoma State. Like, talk me through that kind of mindset as well when you're going in and you're like, wow, I have my spot now, but I'm still getting a degree here, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was important to me to graduate. I love business. I think it's like we talked, like competitive spirit of things. And I haven't necessarily figured that next step out when it comes to what's next for me. I've got a few ideas. I'm just like, how do I even start with this while I still follow football and see if I can pursue it, and see if that can happen for me. But it was important for me to have a plan where, hey, if this doesn't work out, there's something else that I can work towards and, be successful at. And I look forward to that next phase. Like I said, I'm not sure where it's going to take me yet, but it's just, I think that competitive spirit, like we talk about, man, I think people just have that inside of them, and it just drives you.
Yeah. You mentioned family being great support. Tell me about that first phone call when you get that spot.
It was, I'll tell you, prior to that, it's difficult, right? Like I said, I have other options where I'm going to be financially sound and I'm going to have a chance, when people come to you and say, hey, we want you to play, they want you to be there for a reason. They believe in you. And I had a few teams really do that for me, and I'm thankful for that. And to tell my parents, hey, look, I'm not going to do that. I want to go here. It's stressful. It's hard on the family, mostly because they don't want to see me get crushed. They want me to succeed and be happy, and to take a big chance like that. It doesn't always work out for everybody, but I'd say that was one of the best phone calls I've ever made to my parents, was saying, hey, look, I'm gonna be on the team at Oklahoma State, and to see a whole family go from hardcore OU fans to just orange and black through and through now is just amazing. So yeah, definitely. I remember I was in the commons area of my dorm, and when they called me, and I just immediately hung up and called my parents, and so it was awesome. It's something that paid off, and I think about that moment a lot. Yeah,
it's so special to have that moment, right? And just I got kind of chills thinking about like making that phone call, because I've made, it's not that scale of phone calls, but I know what it's like to just be like, first person you call is your family, who've sacrificed everything for you just to give you that shot, right? And it's a super emotional moment, and it's something that you'll always remember, and they'll always remember too. And then, like you said, they're all gone from hardcore OU fans now to just
total 180. Yeah. So, and like all of our friends back home are OU fans, so it's like definitely a rivalry now. Well, not anymore, I guess, but for the last few years, it's been fun to kind of banter back and forth.
So you dive in, you're throwing everything at it. What was that first year like?
Yeah, like I talk about those hardships. It's kind of mentally tough on you. At first, I'm grateful to be there. Whatever my role is, I'm fine with it. I just want to be there and sacrifice where I can, and kind of just keep my mouth shut throughout the season. And I'll never forget it. We get into the off-season program, the winter program, and for the whole year, the strength coach is like, what's your name, new guy? What's your name, new guy? What's your every day, every workout? And part of that's like, maybe he doesn't know my name. The other part is like maybe he's just trying to see if I'm mentally tough enough to accept my position right now. And so I made it a point when we got to winter programs that I was gonna prove myself. And we have like team competitions where there's 5 or 6 to 10 teams. I can't remember how many teams, but guys pick guys on the team. Like, hey, I want this guy to, and I was like one of the last picks because I'm just a freshman. Nobody knows me. And I ended up doing pretty well there. I made a name for myself in that aspect. Get into year 2 and optimistic, and then things I go to training camp, still not playing, don't really have a chance to play right now. And kind of like, man, this is tough. Like, this is where reality kind of sets in. Like, oh, maybe it's not going to be there. And I'll never forget, it was like midway through the season, we're about to go play Texas Tech. And Gundy walks up to me. He's like, hey, because we didn't have a tight end at the time. And he's like, what do you think about starting a tight end position back up here, you and a few other guys? And I'm like, I'm in, man. I'm in.
Put me wherever you
And
want.
I've been with the receivers. I'm a little bit big to be a receiver, but I actually played offensive line in high school because we didn't have enough guys really to play. Like, I just had to do it. And team sport, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm in. And but I was like, I'm not an offensive lineman. That's not me. Yeah. So I go with receivers as a walk-on. And he comes to me and I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, go with Coach Wick in the offensive line for the rest of the year. And I'm like, what? But so I get thrown in from like, I don't know if people know much about it, but the offensive line and the receiver rooms are 2 totally different like organisms. Like, everything about it is different. Every approach to life. And but super cool for me to go in that. And then I started traveling with the team after that, which was amazing. I didn't play that whole second year, but got to be a part of it. Started traveling, started practicing towards, what was going to be next in my career. And third year, really start to see it come together and get on special teams, play a little bit of tight end, a little bit of receiver, and then just slowly, 4th year play more, 5th year play more. So it was amazing. Yeah, just to kind of see it grow and you learn, and people hear all the time about the process. And you go through something like that and you're like, man, I look back at that and I'm very happy and super proud of my accomplishments, but more proud of myself going through the process and like the grind of that and building onto something every single day. I mean, man, it's special. I got to really put something together and see myself grow as an athlete. And that's definitely something that makes my skin crawl. I want that for other guys, to push through hard times and see yourself succeed and get better and better.
Yeah, because some of us are, fortunate. Some people out there are fortunate enough to have natural talent and they get it first thing and they're in and they're a starter. But there's so much learned in, just like you said, back to the process of whatever that process is. You can kind of relate it to everything, any sport, any business, of just every day, just building, right, and stacking wins every day.
That's right. Even if they're small.
Like you said, 3 years, 4 years later, you're like, you're at, and then you go from walking on to playing for the Cowboys, which is like a pretty awesome story.
I went from like I talked about my strength coach saying, what's your name, new guy? To now me and Coach Glass have an amazing relationship. I can text him today and we can have an hour-long chat, so it's really cool. And that was special for me. I don't hold anybody against that. I want you to test me. I want you to push me mentally, physically, emotionally, and really, I think that's where you get, to where you want to be. So
yeah, and I like. The older you get, you want to do that to others, right? You want to do that to the walk-ons that you speak to. You want to do that as a dad, like in a good way, right? To raise, kids or whatever it is, like, because of the process that you've been through and the wins that you've seen. Yes, it's hard to do, but you come out so much better than someone just saying, giving you a little rub on the back and like, you'll get it tomorrow.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but you got to get it today too.
Yeah.
So when Gundy comes to you and says, hey, when you go with the defensive line instead of being with the receivers, does he tell you to gain a bunch of weight, start eating? Like, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. I weighed about 200 and I didn't really grow in high school till I was about a junior. I went from, freshman, I was 5'8" in high school. I graduated around 6'3", 205 pounds. So just starting to really take off. And, I think by my second year, I'm 6'4". I'm still growing, 215 pounds. So I put on a little bit of weight, but I still got a ways to go, maybe 220. And the offensive line coach comes up to me and he's like, so you want to be a tight end, huh? And Coach Wickline, an amazing guy. His personality is unmatched by anybody. People would just have to be in a room to understand it. But he's like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go home every day and eat a jar of peanut butter. And I'm like... He's like, you're way too light right now. You're not going to make it.
An entire job.
Yeah, and I'm like a little scared of this. I'm like, yes, sir, and so I go home and I try it, and I'm like, man, that's not for me, really. I'll try to eat as much as I can, but I was like, Coach, I don't know. And he's like, no, you got to keep doing it. And so, luckily I'm still growing, and so I get to 6'5", 240 pounds by the end of the next year. Man, I was like, I don't know if that's like the right approach for me or not, but yeah, they definitely you need to beef up a little bit. And so I think I got to 230 pounds in college.
Are you just eating it straight from the spoon? Are you?
Yeah, man, I went straight.
Apples? Are you making sandwich?
The Jif jug and just spoon and just trying it. But eventually it was like, I got to at least make sandwiches, I guess. I can't keep doing this. And so the other approach was go home and eat a whole pizza, which that was much more easy for me to conquer.
And enjoyable.
You love it. So, but at that time my metabolism was off the charts, so I could eat whatever, chicken nuggets, and I'd be gaining muscle. So it was interesting.
Just going to Sam's or going to Walmart and just buying
the cheapest one I could find too. I'm like,
crates of peanut butter.
Yeah. I would not when I talk to guys now, I don't mention that part of it. I'm like, maybe have a little bit of a diet or a nutrition plan. Yeah. If you got any questions, call me. But it was interesting.
Can you look at peanut butter now?
Yeah. It's still, like I said, I was like, I will ruin this, and I love peanut butter too much to do that. So. But I think about it every time I look at the jar. I'm like, oh, it takes me back for a second.
God, that's how many days in a row did you do that for?
4, and I was like, I didn't get the whole jar down, but I'm like, I'll try. I think it took me 4 days to get the jar down. I was like, Coach, I can't do it. Calls you soft. I'm like, yeah, I am.
Did you have daily weigh-ins and stuff as well?
No, not in college. When you get to the next level, they have weekly weigh-ins, which can be pretty tough. If you're overweight, you get fined, which luckily then I was 245 and my weight was 270, so I never had an issue.
Fine.
Yeah.
God, how different? You mentioned they're two different organisms, and obviously there's a vast difference between. But tell me about the guys in the group at that time. Were you a receiver group, and then obviously going to the O-line. Tell me about it. What's the difference? Take us to the locker room. Funny stories, whatever you want to say.
It's just receivers they want the ball in their hands. I'm not going to say pretty boys or anything like that, but that's where they make their, that's where you make your money. Yeah. There's Coach Dunn, the receivers coach and offensive coordinator there, does an amazing job, and he's very disciplined, and he's not going to let you get a big head. But there's a little bit of give on, certain guys have certain play styles, and you play to that strength. An offensive line, and it's a 5. Within a team, that's a team, and so you got to work together, and it's all in unison, and you really see these guys are tight knit, both sides, both rooms. But it was really cool. But you go from guys hanging out to where these guys are actually eating full jugs of peanut butter, not because they're forced, but because they love peanut butter. You know what I mean? And so it's I remember I was at another buddy of mine, Jeremy Seaton, who was a tight end fullback. We lived together my junior year, his senior year, and we're at it's like a Walmart, or it's not a Walmart. I can't remember the name of the store there. Anyways, there's this Krispy Kreme donuts on the side of by the cash register, and talking to him dude, who buys these? And 3 seconds later, a good buddy of mine now, his name's Zach Veach, who became a lineman, and he transformed into a tight end, comes in off of his moped, picks up this bag of Krispy Kreme donuts, and he's a lineman at this time, and checks out and leaves. And I'm like, I understand, that's exactly who buys that stuff. And so it's just oh man, I just crack up at that, because I'm like, I look at that every time, who does that? That's who buys that. Yeah. That's who buys that.
So you put in your time, you go to Texas Tech for that first year on the road. Now you might not be playing, but tell me about that first start, that first game, and obviously you're suiting up and you're on the line, but it's different when you're hey, off you go, kind of thing.
Yeah. So the first game would have been the following year, my third year. Now I'm a redshirt sophomore, and it's actually, ironically, it was in AT&T Stadium. We played Florida State for our first game, and they had just won the national championship with Jameis the year before. And I remember I lined up on kickoff return, and it was it's game time now. Like, this is the show. This is the arena where you want to play football right here.
Yeah.
And Boone Pickens has a special place in my heart, but obviously so does AT&T Stadium, both in their right reasons. But yeah, I was like, man, it's game time. Unfortunately, I mean, later we had Tyreek Hill back then, and so it was like, they had a pooch kick to me at one point because they're like, we're not kicking to that guy. And so I ended up getting a kickoff return and taking it for, 20 yards or so, nothing crazy, but it was my first real taste of it. And it was, loved it. I mean, man, yeah, it was crazy fun.
Yeah. You mentioned redshirt sophomore. Why'd you redshirt?
So my first year, I wasn't obviously going to play, and so no reason to burn a year of eligibility.
And
so,
year, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that was like, you weren't even worried about like, I'm going to be in school for 5 years. You're just like,
yeah, it was part of the process to me. Like, why not maximize my time? I need time to grow, anyways. I want to play for 4 years, so I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
And honestly, looking back, I wish I would have taken my first 3 years, my first year okay, but my second, third year, I didn't take academics as seriously as I should have. I really should have pressed myself. I kind of didn't put as much time into it as I should have to go and get a master's, which is something now that I'm like, man, I'm going to go probably look into something like that. Which the NFL does a great job. They do reimbursement programs for guys who want to go back and get their masters.
Nice. That's good. So tell me about playing then. Like, obviously getting into it, suiting up. You obviously you get that first touch of the ball, first game, but then you go on to play a little bit more, right? And you get your starts, and you start seeing a lot of progress, and people start putting faith in you, remembering your name, putting you in there. When does it become like, wow, I love doing this. I could really do this.
Yeah. So I'd say it was later on in the year. It was versus Texas Tech again. This time at home. And we line up and we were on this play. It's like a pass over the middle. And this guy on defense is like talking to me, like in my ear, like, oh, you're terrible. Like, why are you even play? And I hear the play and I'm like, okay, it's time. Like, this is my play. And I end up catching it over the middle of the field. And I'm so excited and nervous and so open that I like almost trip over myself and fall down mid-play, but I stay on my feet and I score. It was like a 47-yard touchdown, which was amazing. And I mean, man, there's nothing better, especially at home, to score a touchdown like that. Like in front of your fans, you score and you just look up and everybody's cheering. It's almost silent. It's so like amazing. And that's my first touchdown ever since Little League. In high school I played offensive line, so I never scored. And now I'm scoring a touchdown in front of 65,000 people. It's just like so surreal to see it all come together like that. But then, like every little piece, it's like, okay, now I've had a taste of that. What's next? And so, yeah, I mean, scored a few more touchdowns throughout my college career, and all the same. I mean, on the road, at home, I mean, it's just silence. It's unbelievable how much like the experience of that is. I wish everybody could feel it.
So you're playing tight end this whole time then?
Yeah. I mean, as a tight end at Oklahoma State, they pride guys on being versatile. Yeah. So lining up a little bit in the backfield, on the line, as a wing player, and then also as a receiver inside and out. So I wanted to make sure I was well-rounded. We had a good group of guys. Me and Jeremy. Jeremy was more fullback, tight end. I was more tight end, receiver. And then, as I said, my Krispy Kreme friend, Zach Veach, he was more tight end, fullback too. Okay. So I kind of got to spread out a little bit and run around.
Yeah. Bedlam games. Any good ones?
Yeah, we had a few. Tyreek returned a punt return for a touchdown in Norman to make us bowl eligible one year. That would have been my redshirt sophomore year, my third year.
Okay.
It was kind of a tough year for us, but that was really one that was like amazing for us to get us bowl eligible. And obviously nobody thought we had a chance. Unfortunately, I lost the other years. Unfortunately, but it's still, I mean, the environment of those games is so heated. At that time, you spend so much time with these guys. You're living with them. You're constantly just hanging out, and not like it's like that in the NFL too. But everybody's got their own families and their own, they're living by themselves. And in college, you're all just a bunch of buddies, and so the love that you have for each other is, you go out there and put it online versus a rival. It's amazing. So. It's super intense.
Yeah. I had previous podcast guest called Dusty Baker, who was a kit manager for Oklahoma State in college, and he was a kit man during Gundy's "I'm a man, I'm 40"
Oh, really?
time. Yeah, he told a funny story about picking up the locker room when coach comes through and he's like, "Don't watch the news tonight, boys," or something. But he told a bedlam story about being in Norman, and just even they were just getting like harassed by everybody. He's like, "This is the worst place to go."
Yeah, it gets intense. I mean,
bad.
And a lot of people do a good job. They put like you right on the student section. It's usually right on top of you, and so they're just talking to you the whole game. You got to blow it off and keep going. But Texas Tech. Everybody, and I'd say West Virginia's fans weren't crazy. Like, they're crazy, but they weren't talking to us. But like, that experience there was pretty neat. I mean, it's just totally different feel than playing in Texas or Baylor or somebody like that.
Yeah,
really cool experience.
So you just you said about having your first touchdown. It's 47 yards, pretty long way to go. In front of a home crowd, guns go off, bullet comes on the field. Greatest feeling ever. Mom and dad in the stands as well.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah,
they were going crazy. They were really supportive for me. They traveled well, especially my fourth and fifth year. Scored in Kansas State one time, and they were right there. And so
you knew exactly where they were.
Yeah. I pointed up in the stands because I knew where my mom was, which was pretty neat and special for us. So amazing feelings. Just to see it all pay off like that. Like I said, like it's all fast paced, but the world just stops for a second. You kind of bring it all back in. Like, this is what I've wanted. This is what I worked for. And just amazing.
It's crazy how, like, you're on the field, you look into the stands, you know exactly where they are, and you've got 65,000 people, and maybe there's 1,000 people in that section, but you know exactly. You point in, you see them. Right.
Yeah. You make a point to know where they're at. And, I knew this, but like I said, they were so supportive of me throughout this journey. It was important for me to have that moment with them. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When does it get like, I can do this as a career then, and stop thinking about, man, I'm gonna get a job? Like, when are you thinking, even if I don't get the NFL, I'm gonna go to Canada or overseas? Like, when's that moment?
Yeah, similar approach for me. It was like, hey, if I'm gonna do this to the next level, I'm gonna go after it. Yeah. And at Oklahoma State, spread offense, we don't always use tight ends as much as other schools, and so I only had 26 or 27 catches my senior year. A few touchdowns, I think like 3. And I was like, man, there's still, similar to me playing offensive line in high school and moving to the next level, I was like, there's still more that I feel like I can accomplish. I can give so much more to this game. I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm fast, I'm confident, I'm ready. And so I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do whatever it takes. And whether I'm a free agent again and you climb all the way up and start back at the bottom, like, I'm okay with that. I'm ready for it. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Yeah. You talk to your agent, which I don't know if you know Kelly Masters. I think you do know Kelly.
Yeah, she's great.
One of the best decisions I made was to go with Kelly to be my agent. There's a lot of people out there who promise you the world, and she was much more realistic with me with things and said, hey, look, we're optimistic about rounds 4 through 7, but if not, you will be a first, like, people are going to come after you in preferred free agency, which is as soon as the draft ends at whatever time, like that last pick of the 7th round, it's like a frenzy. Teams are calling you, trying to get the guys that are not drafted to your team. And so she was there with me every step of the way through that. Yeah. And another crazy, we have a draft party and you're not drafted. It's kind of tough, but also, the end result was getting picked up, which was amazing. And everybody, all my family and friends are there to support me through it.
When does, Kelly's been on the podcast a couple of times. We're recording the day after the Super Bowl. She's obviously there being super busy and crushing it, and with all her clients having a great time. When do you meet her? When does she come on the radar?
Through the process?
Yeah.
How
does that process work?
Right after my bowl game, the Alamo Bowl, my senior year, I have a really good family friend. His name is Rich Hills. He was actually a baseball player at OU when Kelly was there. Okay. And they know each other through that. And so I've had a few agents come at me, and Rich was like, hey, I know Kelly very well. He's like, and to have somebody I trust somebody like that was huge for me. It was important, and so that definitely helped. And so we kind of kicked it off right from there. And like I said, she's just been amazing. If I call her and she doesn't answer, she calls me back within 3 minutes, because she knows it's just how she operates, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, if she's not on a plane, because she's always on a
Yeah,
plane.
I know. So I don't know how she does it. She's so busy, but yeah, and even now, like she called me last week or a week before, kind of keeping me in touch with everything that's going on, saying, hey, these teams have still kind of reached out. Just want to keep your ear on it. And, it's awesome. I don't ask her to do that. She does it for me. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, she kind of keeps me in the loop with other teams.
Yeah. So after the draft party, then you don't get drafted. How quick do you get a phone call then?
Like 30 seconds after the final pick. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of crazy. I had like 5 or 6 teams call immediately. Not me, they call Kelly.
Yes,
and so it's like Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Dallas, Cincinnati, I think called like 2 or 3 more teams. And immediately it was like between Philadelphia and Dallas for me, just situationally wise. Grew up a huge Philadelphia fan. Similar to like OU transferring over to OSU, I went from Philadelphia to Dallas. Like some people are like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But it kind of came between them, and Zach Ertz was in his prime, crushing it for Philadelphia, and they had a really good thing going on. And Dallas had Jason Witten, who is, he's going to be a Hall of Fame guy. He's just amazing guy. And I was like, ultimately, when it came down to these two, I was like, I want to go play behind. I want to go see what Witten has to offer. And that's kind of where we went. And got to learn from him for a few years, which was, amazing, priceless.
What was the first difference you noticed from just being around college to NFL when you get down to Dallas?
Professionalism, which I expected to be different. Everybody is just a little, you got to bring your A game every single day. There's obviously a lot on the line. It's no longer a game. It's a profession. There's money on the line. There's families on the line. So you get there and everything's just a little bit more serious. Every detail is a little bit more detailed. And to be successful, you have to understand that. And luckily, I had a really good tight ends coach my first year. It was very, very detailed, and it killed me. But it was one of the best things that ever happened. Is every day he made me get out there 15 minutes early to practice and work on footwork or work on catching the football, like 15 minutes every day, no matter if it was Wednesday practice or the walk through before the game on Saturday. Like, hey, we're getting out there and we're going to work on this. I don't care if you're playing or not. Like, we're going to do this. You're young, you need it. And I truly believe that it's hard in this day and age. But like as a young guy, I think repetition is honestly one of the best things you can do. So it's muscle memory when things hit the fan. And you got a lot of other stuff you're looking at. At least I know my footwork's going to be correct. And so I owe, his name is Steve Loney. He's retired now, but amazing guy. And he helped me out. And then had other 2 tight end coaches who were really amazing as well. Yeah. Kind of just helped me put the whole game together. He was a offensive line guy. He had been offensive line coach for forever and was a tight ends coach. And then my second year, Doug Nussmeier, who's been an offensive coordinator and been around the NFL and the college league for a long, long time. He became my tight ends coach for my second, third year, and he was a quarterback, and just put the whole other picture of the game in my mind, which was, awesome. He was incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing the vision that they have and like how they see everything plan out in front of them, right? Like just. You'd see that thing in the Matrix, and there's just like stuff going on.
Yeah,
right? And that's how it looks to them. They see runs, plays, everything. Yep, it's just all outside the helmet.
I remember talking to my conversations with my tight ends coaches, like first grade level football, and then I'm sitting by Witten, and Witten is talking rocket science right beside me. Like he sees, and we could be up 28-0 on a team, and he's screaming to our defensive players on the field across, like he knows exactly what's going on, and he's screaming out what they're about to do because he just knows and he prepared so well for every game. And that's it's just kind of how he is. He just won that state championship with the team down in wherever he's at now in Texas. So he's got football figured out.
I don't want to gloss over the fact that like your first coach had you out there for 15 minutes. Like it doesn't have to be hours and hours of reps. You are doing that anyway, but just an extra 15 minutes every day. Like people listening, it's not, like that's huge.
Yeah. Over the course of a season, that's an amazing amount of time that other guys didn't have that I did. And I grew because of it. Yeah. You don't necessarily see it week 1, week 2, month 1, month 3, but you get to halfway through the season, you're starting to see like, he's doing that now. He doesn't have, and he's playing faster because of it. And that was a big thing for me. Play faster, play faster, play faster. And so, without that, him making me be disciplined about it. And then even after that, I still did it every day. You know, it was like, get out there, work on footwork, catch the football, just get going before practice starts, get your mind locked in, focused. It's easy to just be like, practice starts at, 1:30, I'll be out there at 1:29. Like, guys do that. It was important. Yeah. Like, what am I going to do here besides be on my phone scrolling through Twitter for the next, 15 minutes? Get out there and play football and be a professional.
Yeah. When you chose Dallas and you get that first contract, do you do anything special for the family?
When I got on the team, I had an amazing signing bonus compared to the other guys. No, it wasn't crazy. It was a few $1,000s, but it was important. Like, I was like, wait, let's go on a trip. And so I didn't pay. We just went. Like, I paid my own way, got my own room to Cabo, and we spent like 5 days before I went to training camp. And it was amazing. But after when I got to my second contract, that's where I really tried to give back and help my parents out. Ended up paying for their house. I was like, hey, look, you guys gave me this opportunity, so I'm going to do this for you. And one of those extra special calls too. I got to do that in person with them, which was amazing. Like, hey, I'm going to.
How'd you do it?
I remember I just signed. And I was with my parents, and I wanted it to kind of be organic. I didn't want to be like, hey, let's go out to eat and, make a scene of it. I was like, just pulled them aside and I said, hey, look, I'm doing this. I want to, you guys gave me the opportunity back in 2012 for me to have this success I'm having today. And so it's important, and it means a lot to me to be able to give back. And, obviously that's a very emotional moment too that, I'll always, cherish with them. So, and what's awesome is they've never asked me for anything. They've just down to earth. They're happy with my successes for myself, and I think that's what made it even easier to help them out. Yeah,
no, that goes a long way too, right? Because you saw the NFL or an NBA too, and whatever the sports are, baseball, any sport that someone in the family gets super successful. You sadly see people turn into a sponge, right? And start like, hey, can you pay for this? Can you do that? Right. And you're like that's added pressure as well. Right. And then adds into all the stats of why professional athletes go broke because they're financing, they got everyone else on payroll. Yep. Which is
we had a really good Brian Wansley. He's the player engagement guy down in Dallas, and he had a lot of good meetings with him. He's like, hey, look, guys. You may not change, but your family's dynamic is going to change, whether you want it to or not. You need to understand, whether it's me or whether it's your agent, you need to have somebody be able to say no for you if you can't. And that's important. Luckily, like I said, I didn't have a lot of those issues, but a lot of people do, and it can be hard. It's just extra stress outside of the field that you don't need.
Yeah. Do you treat yourself at all during this time?
A little bit, yeah, here and there. Just upgraded our house and got to extra vacations here and there. I definitely now try to, instead of treating myself, put it towards passive income that's going to be helpful in the future.
Investments and rental houses.
Yeah, right. Unfortunately, I didn't have a whole bunch of financial education. Sure. Like I said, I think that's why it's important for walk-ons to understand that commitment you're making. Yeah. That was one of the first things I did when I got pulled up to the active roster. So just to go back a little bit, I got picked up. Then after the fourth preseason game, you make cuts down to the roster. Mm-hmm. And I got picked back up by Dallas as a scout team guy. Okay. And then halfway through the year, got activated onto active roster.
Gotcha. So that's when that second contract comes in.
Well, you're still on a rookie deal. Still on a rookie deal. This is my first year in the league. Yeah. As a scout team guy, it's still great money, but it's not what you make as an active roster guy. And so that was, once I got 3 weeks in, I ended up, like, hey, pay off all my student loans. So let's get that out of the picture, like, right now. Because, I didn't even see the numbers until they kind of started knocking on my door, like, hey, you owe us money. And so it's like, that's reality. And so, it was important for me, I was in an amazing place in Dallas and Plano with my neighbors. Had amazing people around me to kind of help me start to look towards things. Super successful people who kind of helped me, just guide me. And if I have any questions, today, they would be happy to go out of their way and kind of help me figure out what I'm going through, which has been awesome.
During this first year, you're kind of going back to relying on like your experience at Oklahoma State as a walk-on, right? You're back to that process of like every day's got to keep doing, and like that. It's amazing when you look back. You're like, that time at Oklahoma State really prepared me as a walk-on to do the same thing again in Dallas.
Yeah, same thing. Opportunities are few and few between as a free agent guy with 4 other tight ends in the room. You know what actually helped me is Witt was 13th year in the league, so he had days off. Where like younger guys had to go play because he's just an older guy. They don't want to put him through all that stress physically. And then we had 2 other tight ends go down, so there was only 3 of us left, and another one gets sick one day during OTAs, and so it was me and another guy had to do a whole practice. First string guys, second string guys, third string guys, like we're rolling all day long. And you want to talk about like a mental like roller coaster going on. I barely know the playbook, and getting tossed into 75 plays in one practice, and but stuff like that. I mean, they put you through that for a reason. Same thing as coach asking me, "Hey, what's your name?" Same thing. They want to see if you can handle it, even if you mess up. They want to see you move forward, and it's critical. Learn a lot from those moments about yourself too.
How's Jerry?
Jerry's what you
was that
see.
like, meeting him?
Yeah, pretty cool. The first time I ever met him, we're in an OTA practice, and for people who don't know, in Frisco, we have an indoor facility and we have 2 outdoor facilities, a grass field and a turf field. They sit just right next to each other. And a helicopter starts spinning over us. And the coaches know, the security guys are like, all right, we need everybody to come over here by the field goal post. And so we all like kind of stop practice for a few minutes and park it. And he lands his helicopter in the middle of the turf field. Comes out of the field. I was like, it is. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Right. It's Jerry Jones. It is what it is. And it was, amazing. I've had a few meetings with him throughout my days, and he's a genuine guy. He was a walk-on too, so it was pretty cool to have that connection with him. He wants to win, that's for sure. People can question how they run that operation, but they do it because they want to win, whether people agree with the direction they go or not. It's they built that to win. Yeah.
You ever get kind of chance to just talk life with him one-on-one? Pick his brain a little bit?
Not necessarily for a long period of time. I had one game in the NFL where I had a pretty good game, and it was right before New Year's. And there's a club up there they call it the Cowboy Club, and it's like overlooks our practice facility. And I was up there with some buddies enjoying New Year's Eve, and he was up there. And as I walked by, he kind of pulled me to the side and was just telling me, talking to me about it for a second, proud of me, but also saying, "Hey, look, we have a job to do. We're headed to the playoffs." And so it was neat. It was really cool.
That's awesome. How'd you meet Peighton? How'd you meet your wife?
Yeah, she was on the Palm squad at OSU, and I was a 5th year, and she was a freshman, and I don't know, she's from Tuttle, and so my mom had put in my ear like a year earlier, like, "Hey, there's this Palm girl that's like, she's gonna be on Palm or whatever." Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And,
thanks, Mom.
Yeah, right. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'm a football player in Oklahoma State. I have attention. Don't worry about it. Mom's trying to find you a wife.
Exactly.
A hometown wife from Tuttle. I love that. Shout out to the mums out there.
That's right. And
hey, it worked.
It did. Anyways, we started talking and getting together, and it was amazing. She was so supportive of me. She had obviously a full-time job doing football of Palm and cheering on Saturdays, and then she would, if we're in Dallas, even if it was a noon game, she would leave Stillwater Saturday night, drive down to Dallas, go to the game, and then either it was a noon game or a night game, she would go, and then like Sunday night drive back.
That's awesome.
So man, you talk about a support system. She's been there through, thick and thin. She's been amazing. Yeah. She's been really, really supportive, and I appreciate it all the way through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's a remarkable. Good mom, too.
There we go. So, almost we were like 7-8 months into being a dad?
8 months.
8 mons.
Just crossed that a few days ago. So he's crawling around, going crazy. So.
Why'd you name your son Beckham?
We were just kind of going through names, and, we were tossing around everything we could think of, and one day I was like, I wasn't even watching a David Beckham thing or anything. And what's funny is she had no idea who that was until I showed her a picture. She's like,
I know that guy.
Oh, yeah. And I was like,
Posh Spice's husband. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, that kind of sticks. Like, we kind of like that. It's different, unique as a first name. And but I mean, love it. Yeah. He looks like a Beckham to me now. So
8 months of dad life. Talk about the challenges you've had in life, and then you have a baby and become a dad. So I'm sure those are huge challenges too.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're shell shocked your first 3 weeks. You're sleep deprived. He's been an amazing baby. He sleeps 7 to 7 every night, which is amazing. So we're super spoiled with that. And he eats, and he's growing like crazy. But yeah, I mean, those first few weeks it's life changing, man. It's everything about your day is. I mean, now you got somebody you have to take care of. And what's crazy, it's like, for me, it's like I just flipped a switch. It was like, I would love to watch this kid. Whatever I've got to do, I'm happy to give my time to help him. And so it's remarkable being a dad. I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So back to football a little bit. You're kind of getting your chances. You're on special teams or getting your plays, and you obviously have a run of injuries. But before that, you're climbing, you're on the rise, you're playing for America's team, right? Like, life's got to be pretty good up until you get injured.
Yeah. I had 3 years in the NFL before I really had any serious injuries. I had some stuff that slowed me down, but nothing that would debilitate me like my ACL did at first. And starting to play really, really well, growing confidence. Me and Dak are on the same page with everything. I'm in the offensive meetings and not only understanding it at a tight end level, but also as like a quarterback or an offensive lineman. We all work together, but we all have our own jobs. And so to get to a level where I understand the total picture. And I think that was what's awesome is my rookie year, I had that coach who was an offensive line. So I understand what they're going through, and to have a quarterback come in, what the quarterback's looking for, where the tight end fits in every play, why it's important we block the way we block, or we run the route the certain way we run the route. I mean, like I said, everything is so detailed to win. I mean, you watched the game last night. It's like, that's a high-level football game. I haven't had that much fun watching football in a long time because both of those teams are so good. And, what a game. That's what football's about. And so it was, but I mean, I'm just, it's like I don't even have to think now. It's just I play the game. And unfortunately, just early in my first game of my fourth year, just plant on my leg, and there it goes. And here comes like the emotional and physical, tough parts of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel it straight away?
Yeah. I knew I had a torn ACL before I got to the sideline. They said, what happened? I said, my knee popped. And he said, it's an ACL. And sure enough, you go back in the back and they can do a test within 5 seconds. And he's like, ACL. He's like, I'm sorry, Blake, we'll get it tested to make sure, but they know.
Yeah.
And, the team's still on the field now. I'm in the training room just, it's tears are flowing. It's hard not to, it's like you've worked so hard. You've made it through the hardest part of the year, which is training camp. Yeah. You're doing all this work and you're not playing just to, have a situation in the first game. And that was my first real injury I've had. And then rehabbing that, I hurt my back trying to fix my knee. And so I have to go through another surgery, get back, and then my hip is like, hey, I don't want to work either. And so go through a whole year.
Bang.
Yeah, I mean, they come in threes, right? That should be it. But I mean, I've had a lot of time over the last few years to think about it, and it's all God's plan. It's not my decision to make. But I'm grateful for everything I've had so far, for the positive, the negatives I've gone through, because I've had the opportunity to go play with the Dallas Cowboys at the highest stage and score touchdowns in the high, in AT&T Stadium and other places around the world, the States. And so it's just been, it's been amazing. And like I said, I want to go back and finish it on my own terms, but I have no regrets about any of it. Things happen for a reason. So I'm grateful for everything that I've been a part of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does anything keep you up at night other than your child?
It's like we talk about that. to be on the cusp of something that I thought, I was headed towards, and then have it kind of taken away in a sense where you don't have the ability, especially for a long time as you rehab and try to get back. Yeah, it's like I want to be what I thought I could accomplish, and I got so far down the road. My whole trajectory of football, I'm just doing this, and then you just drop, and that's mentally. I mean, that's taxing. And like I said, shout out to Peighton because she's really been there. She lets me have those bad days where I'm just like extra stressed or tense because that stuff's on my mind. Of you watch football, and I can sit there on the couch, and she hates watching it with me because I'm like I kind of know, I see what's happening, and she's like, sometimes it's good, sometimes she's like, Blake, go to the other room. I don't want to hear you right now. And it's not like that all the time, but I'm just, that frustration sets in at times. But that's also what kind of keeps me going and rehabbing and stuff like that, because I want to get back, but if I can't, I want to make sure that I give it every possible. I want to throw everything at it, and if I can't get back, hey, at least I tried. No regrets. I gave it everything I had.
No, you're right. And I think it's different, right? If you just you kind of throw the towel in now, right? And it's just, in 10 years' time, you're like, man, I kind of still wanted to give it a go.
Right. Yeah. And I think that doing this is, if I don't go back, it's closure, at least for me. Hey, I would have loved to go back. I tried. I truly did, and I can't. But this particular hip injury, guys don't usually come back from that. And so that's also another thing. I'd like to be the first one to go back and do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Over your time then in the NFL and being around guys, you mentioned, Witten and Dak, and you're also playing against, top tier athletes. Ever have any kind of I'm a 16-year-old boy moments that I'm lining up against someone else?
Yeah,
tell me about those.
I have
just
one in particular.
In the group text with your buddies, you're just I lined up against this guy.
When people ask me,
he's a monster.
What's your number one, that guy's good moment is first game right before I tear my ACL. It's the first quarter, and we're playing the Rams, and Aaron Donald's on the other side, and the first play of the game is supposed to be a G scheme where tight end blocks down, you pull the guard, you get the guys out, pitch the ball to the running back, ball's on the edge. And I start on the right side of the ball, and Dak's going to motion me over and block down. And it's the first game of the year. You don't know how they're going to line up. We've got some pretty good guards in there, so you think Aaron Donald's going to be inside. Well, sure enough, we line up, and I'm on the right side of the ball, and I see Aaron Donald's not in the spot that he should be. He's one wider, and he's a defensive end, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So Dak he steps back to motion me across the line. And I'm like, Dak, we're not doing this. I'm literally dude, run a different play. I'm saying this to him on the line. And he's like, quit messing around. Come on. And so I'm like, okay, here we go. And I come across, and we snap the ball. I take good footwork. I'm low. I strike. I got him. And he just picks me up off the ground. Aaron Donald is a powerful man. And he's calling me a boy as he's picking me up. I'm like, yeah, I know, man. I can't do anything here. And it's just one of those things. Yeah, that's they got me. Stuff like that happens where you play guys. You're just this is not going to be good. And luckily, I don't have a whole bunch of those moments. But that's definitely one that sticks out to me. Where it's that's not good. That's not going to look good on film the next day.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, exactly. I just signed a new contract. I'm on top of the world, and that's a reality moment. Here it is. So
yeah, don't care what's in your bank account now, boy.
Exactly.
I just destroyed you, and I'm going to be here all day.
Exactly.
How's the trash talk compare at the NFL level compared to college?
Elevated because everybody's good. It's still in college. It's a lot of fun too, but yeah, NFL. Guys can back it up, 100%. So it just makes it more fun out there. You love it. You don't want a quiet game. You want guys talking to you the whole time. I think it's best for both sides.
Yeah,
you kind of catch clips here and there.
Quiet games more worrying, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of you're in your own head more. Guys
exactly. It gives you something to think about and talk about instead of just stressing out about what's going on.
God, what? Obviously, you've been out for a little bit. What do you miss?
The guys, the locker room, obviously been a big part of my life, just always being on a team sport and not having that all the time has been tough at times. I'm not like the most vocal guy by any means, but you love just having stuff go around and just hanging out with the guys. So to not have that's tough at times, but that's why doing the rehab stuff's good for me, that have that competitive spirit still with those guys.
Yeah. You have anything like in Oklahoma that you can kind of off the field at the moment that you kind of replicate that with? Like you go on trips with buddies and stuff like that?
Yeah. I still stay in touch with a lot of guys. It's hard to, like I said, we all have families now. And so when you're not all in the same state, it's tough. I've got buddies from high school I hang out with and stuff like that. And I've seen Dak. I saw Dak at the Big 12 championship this year when they played Texas. OSU did. I hit him up and I was like, hey man, are you using your suite? I'd love to, buy it for me this week. And he's like, I'm actually going to go. And he's like, why don't you bring your wife? And so that was really cool. So we got to go. I got to catch up with him a little bit. And so I stay in touch with those guys as much as I can.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, looking in the future a little bit. You mentioned earlier it's God's plan, and whatever happens. You mentioned getting into business a little bit. If you could wave the magic wand, like what do you want to do? What do you want to? Whenever you decide and whenever you have your final closure with professional sports, like what's kind of the ideal way to kind of progress and go into the other side of the world?
I think that I see myself more on the real estate side of things. I've got a few Airbnbs and a small event space down in Texas and Airbnb out in New Mexico for some reason, but it does really well. It's great. But I'd like to kind of get in the construction side of things and maybe do small developments and things like that. Like I said, I really have no clue what I'm getting into with that, but I've got some really good friends that I think that I could kind of get in their ear about, and I think they're really good guys. I think they'd help me just kind of understand at least what I'm getting myself into. So I've got a lot of people that I kind of always talk about investments with, things like that, which is also awesome. Like try to build that passive income for the future. It's just right now, do I want to go get just a normal job, or do I want to, see what I can do as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, don't stay away from a normal job as much as possible.
My wife said the other day, she's like, Blake, I've known you for a long time, and a 9 to 5 is not you. I was like, I know. I don't know how I can survive that, but nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, I'm just not I don't think that's in my DNA.
Yeah, not at all. Tell me about do you have a home gym setup?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's, I'm actually invested in a company called Oxfit, which is a tech-based fitness program. We have, it's like a at-home gym in itself. It's a big platform that they have a big time platform and like a smaller home. And I actually have both. My wife loves the smaller one. The bigger one's got a little bit more that can help me. And what's cool about it is it's got like tech behind it, so it can track my velocity and my power and things like that. And it's got a plate on the bottom, so it can tell if I'm deficient, if I'm leaning into my left or my right, and it can tell how much power I'm producing left to right. So it's been pretty nice to have that ability by myself. And as I rehab too, it's got, it can just kind of help me, show me velocity from my right side to my left side, because that's a big thing for me, creating that power and that force again.
Yeah. Is it like cables and stuff?
It's all motorized cables. So it's as easy as, like, say you want to do a bench press, you can lower and with a button it'll lower the bench down. If you want to do a squat, you just raise it back up, and then I just click like 185 or 225 by a button and push load, and it just loads it up right there. And it's got the ability to do like it can act as like a chain set or any other set, and so it's got like, instead of putting weight on all the time, you just push a button and it kind of manipulates it. So it's pretty neat. It's really, really cool stuff.
And so you invested in that?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got a lot of athlete investors, and so it's been cool to see that company grow and be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure as a professional athlete, you've got people coming to you with opportunities, and it's kind of nice to have someone like Kelly, I guess, who just like, you don't want to do this one sounds awesome, be careful of this one. Just to manage that.
Just to have like counsel in my, just to be able to call and talk about stuff like that is amazing. And she, like I said, she'll tell it to me straight what she thinks. And she's like, Blake, it's it's ultimately your decision. Here's just what I want you to think about.
Finishing up, let's talk about food. Talk about the good food for now. I say the good food, the stuff that you're supposed to be eating. What's your kind of, what's your day-to-day like for meals? And obviously as a professional athlete, you've got to be on top of that. What's that like?
I have a pretty heavy red meat diet right now with a lot of bison, actually.
Okay.
I bought half a bison about a year ago, and me and my wife usually 4 times a week. That's kind of in our diet. Outside of that, chicken or fish or something like that, and try to stay away from all the sugar. But every now and then, ice cream slips into the occasion. That's right. Tuttle.
It's close to home.
Tuttle Company. I mean, I got to support, right? So
why do you, I mean, I can't believe you don't have a brand deal with them yet.
I know. Yep. My wife in Tuttle, she used to go to church with the Brahms family, so it was pretty neat. But yeah, I try to keep it clean.
So you can't trying to do the carnivore diet stuff? Or not?
Somewhat, not as intense. I've thought about going full carnivore.
Eating eggs.
Yeah, meat and eggs. I just don't know. I actually enjoy eating salads and things like that. And so as long as I keep it clean, I don't always, when I travel, I obviously kind of lose myself a little bit and indulge. But usually, Monday to Friday, I'm trying to keep it put together pretty well.
Let's talk about the bad food then. That's good for the mind and soul. Tell me about some of your favorite spots.
Oh man,
you got a neighborhood jam.
Yeah, I took my wife because I was out of town this weekend, so I was like, I'm going to take them to.
Great spot.
I love it. Yeah, I got the sweet potato hash and a bagel this morning. So, just stuff like that. I love Buffalo Wild Wings too. Is kind of another one I go to, and I'll eat 25 wings like a savage. And I'm like, I should not have done that. Spend some extra time in the sauna the next day to kind of sweat it out, feel better about myself.
Yeah. What heat level are we at for the wings?
Medium. I don't go super hot. I like the Asian zing or that level of hot.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy like blazing or anything like that. Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah, it's I want to enjoy my food. One time when I was a kid, I ate a pepper that I wasn't supposed to eat, and I learned fast. It was miserable for 3 hours. It's look, know your limits, man.
Just chugging milk.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, mate, this has been a pleasure. Thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it. I know you're busy, so I really appreciate you coming in, sharing some stories, sharing about where current life's at. Obviously, you're balancing trying to get back in the NFL, being a dad, and obviously you have a wife, and all the investment stuff as well. So I know it's not easy, and so I really appreciate you coming and sharing, just over an hour of your time to tell some stories, reminisce about, some times at Oklahoma State, and then maybe they'll fire you up to get you back to the NFL by the end of the year. What's the process for this year? What you said, getting down to Dallas soon. How is this the rest of the year going to look like for you? And if everything goes to plan, what does that look like?
Yeah. So right now, still kind of everybody. This is kind of, I think, the perfect time because everybody's kind of still off.
Season's over.
Yeah, everybody's taking a little bit of time to get their bodies back. And so my plan is just to jump right in with when they start up programs, because OTAs will start coming up in May, so it's about time to get rolling again, and you want to go through about a 6 to 8 week program. We'll see. I'll reevaluate kind of early May, see how I feel. My goal ultimately is to see how I feel late July.
Okay.
Where am I at late July? And that'll kind of be a telltale sign of what my future holds for myself.
Super. Well, wish you all the best for that. For people listening, I will put your Instagram down if they're not already following you in the description, and they can go check out and keep tabs on you. And wish you all the best to getting back full fit and healthy and signing a contract.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
For people listening, thanks so much. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901.
They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.